Hey there, how's it going? I watched a movie that I've had for a long time with a friend recently. We're gonna do a review of it. It's Picnic by Shunji Iwai, and it was made in 1996, one of his earliest works. He ended up going on to make the more famous Swallowtail Butterfly and All About Lily Chow Chow, amongst many others. This one connected with me more than all of his other films. Here, I got a couple. It's this guy right here. This one's for sale if any of you are interested. It was like $40 some years ago on Yes Asia, because you can't get this in America. You can see it's all sealed and whatever. I found a very rare Blu-ray of it, but it's a bootleg. I doubt you will find this now because I got this maybe 10-15 years ago. So that's why the other one's for sale, sealed. So this movie has a very similar premise to I'm a Cyborg, but That's Okay, which was done by, I believe, Park, whoever did that. I think he directed Old Boy. So, if I'm correct, I actually think that movie ripped off Picnic in a lot of ways, and it doesn't do it as well, although I do like elements from it. So the movie is about primarily about the main character Coco, who goes straight to a mental institution. You don't know why at first, and meets two other mental patients there as well. The reason why this movie might be of interest to you is that it really embodies the feeling of feeling trapped by society, as if you are put in certain circumstances that drive you nuts and there is no way out, and you are to blame for hating your circumstances. So I think it's not a movie for most people, because no one necessarily likes the feeling of feeling trapped. But what's kind of refreshing about the characters is that they're very whimsical and still childlike at heart, despite their sort of tortured life, and are able to see sort of the bright and weird and silly and magical things about the world, even though they themselves are having difficulty processing its horrors. It's a strange movie to categorize because it has a very romantic vibe. It has an art house sort of cinematography lens. That's why the music has kind of like a childish-like tone, because the main characters are sort of like childs at heart, both for good, better, and worse. It has elements of horror, and there are even scenes at some point where someone is raped. There is puppetry, which is very creepy and strange. And like I said, it's not most people's cup of tea for you to involve humor with such things. There's even at one point a crow is killed and worn as a jacket. Yeah, like I said, if you're interested in a weird movie you've never seen before, another thing that's very interesting about this movie is half of it is from the perspective of 2-foot walls. Not 2 foot, sorry, like two people worth, so like 12-foot walls. So it's a very unusual perspective to see the world entirely from above everyone else. So I'm gonna continue more deeper thoughts about this. If you have not seen the movie, I recommend you go see it now. It was someone had it on YouTube. You should go check it out now before it's taken down. So just search YouTube, and there should be some subtitles there if it's still up. All right, so here's the spoilers review. This movie does something fascinating in that, without even saying words, It kind of reveals that the entire world is insane. There is just sort of the societal acceptance version of insanity, and then there's the those who get thrown into a psych ward, and they might even be more sane than the rest of the world. You can kind of see this denoted immediately as Chara. Chara is the person who plays Coco. As Coco gets thrown into prison, you see people like the people who are going to take her into the psych ward. They got these like creepy, weird looking eyes. It's very well captured that way, and there's a lot of messed up things going on in that psych ward. One of them being rape, and it's you can also just kind of feel a very stale, stagnant energy from Coco's parents when they kind of are looking at her being taken away to the psych ward. But for some of us, it's very refreshing to see anyone making a movie about this, to someone who's kind of embracing their eccentricities despite a world of madness. It's really interesting that the main two characters, later on in the movie, you find out that they are murderers. One of them feels very guilty for their murder, and the other one is completely fine and thinks there's nothing of it. And her having killed a twin sister, how strange that there was a double version of her, and she killed her, what it seemed like, because her sister was very condescending and called her a fake. It's not very elaborated on, but you get the sense that it's similar to Sumuji's story, in which he is tortured by his teacher. He was tortured by the same teacher in his school. I think it was both middle school and high school, if I remember correctly. Which he was just tortured by this person, so he ended up killing him. So you get a sense that Coco has a similar kind of I had no other way out, I had to get rid of him kind of vibe. So there's also, my friend asked me a good, unusual question about this movie. Why does the main character take their life at the end? So here is my interpretation of it. She said earlier that the world would end, began when she was born and ended when she died. She seems very solipsistic. It's supposed to be kind of a humorous tone to it, but she's also dead serious. You could see how someone might really think that, and we've even probably considered that ourselves as a possibility, right? That the world revolves around us because we don't remember it before us or without us. But my theory is that Sumuji also tells to the priest at one point that it would be really great if the world ended. So at the very end, when they're trying to just watch the end of the world and it doesn't happen, my theory is that Coco shoots herself to end the world to make Sumuji happy, because he would love to see the end of the world, because this world has been very torturous for him. But it's also just meant as a comic relief, sort of an absurdity or an acknowledgement that this is in fact a movie. We're just going to do a really absurd ending, because how else would this end? To kind of illustrate a sort of beauty in all of it. There seems to be this sort of, when you look at things from further away, even outside of your trapped feelings, that there is a beauty to the world no matter what. And I think that the end of the movie very much reflects that. So, yeah, that's the main things I wanted to say about the movie. I really do like the cinematography of seeing things from further above. It's like a whole different perspective, and I think that's intentional in showing you that, strangely enough, these three main characters who dared to still be lively and not a stagnant soul of society are still somehow above life. they found a way to be who they are, animalistic urges and all, and they're still walking around and being alive. Whereas many of us, I think most people in society get tricked into thinking that certain things are unreasonable, but when certain circumstances arise, like when a person around you is killing your soul and you have to be around them every single day of your life, what seems like a response that society obviously doesn't condone, and I'm not condoning murder by any means here, is just some people are willing to do anything to preserve their liveliness and not become a stagnant soul that works under the system. There's also religious tones to this movie. They visit a church and they obviously are reading the Bible. But I think that all of that is kind of just to show you how much, as many different angles as possible, that the world is in a cage and it's not aware that it's in a cage. There are those who are aware that they're in a cage and that others are also in a cage. And the absurdity of the humor too really does help put sort of these doom-like vibes. It makes it go down easier. A lot of people like Shunji, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, I looked it up earlier, I pronounced it right earlier in this video. A lot of people, evidently he speaks to a lot of teenage girls, but also just youngsters in general, and for having sort of a fantasy type tone, but people who are shy or outcasts, people who kind of embrace their obnoxiousness, if it makes them feel good to do so. There is something oddly charming about Coco's obnoxiousness in this movie. But Shunji Iwai, or I don't know how to pronounce it. He does sentimentality really well, and sort of a fantasy or sort of a magic behind it all. This movie is even considered fantasy under genres, which you can kind of, it's not the first thing that came to mind, but you can see that. And sentimentality is something that dies over time, I've noticed. People consider you naive or gullible for believing in magic or the charm of the world or seeing some sort of magic even in an urban or street society. So there is a lot of like horrific, terrible vibes, like especially when Satori, he breaks his neck, and it's just kind of messed up. But I really think all of that is there to make us feel like someone really gets what horror and doom and feeling trapped really feels like. And I think that's the main appeal of Shunji Iwai, that he somehow knows all about endearment and liveliness, and is not afraid to show the many multiple faceted ways of being and living, even in a very normal, bland, bleak, kind of dreary or just not very exciting existence. And it's important for us to be able to see these distinctions and call them out as they are, and knowing that there are others out there that feel like us. It's encouraging. We know that the director had a freeing moment by releasing this into the world, because he was releasing some of his pain, but also showing you some of his idealism as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed this review and interpretation of Picnic. I may do some of his other films in the future. This is the one that spoke to me the most. Probably not. We'll see. Let me know if you are interested in it, and maybe I will do one. But anyway, hope you have a lovely evening or day, whatever it is for you, and take care.